Welcome to another edition of Ignite's Product Theater. I'm Foster Stubbs. Today, we have Jonathan Duvall, Senior Director of Product Management for primeCLAIMS on. Let's dive right into it. Jonathan, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Foster. So thanks everybody for joining us today. We are really excited to continue to let everybody know about the primeCLAIMS product. primeCLAIMS is a claims clearinghouse for the post-acute care industry, and we have been just hard at work as a group of ex-revenue cycle managers, basically developing features that we would have wanted on the provider side so that in the end we wind up getting everybody paid faster. A lot of people in the industry might see claims clearinghouses as kind of a commodity. They all do the same thing. They move claims around. But primeCLAIMS does things a little bit differently. And what we do differently as a product team and as a product is we really focus on what really matters, which is getting paid for every dollar, for every day that your care teams are delivering services to the patients in the community. I've never met anybody who paid anybody with revenue or with accounts receivable. A lot of those nurses and CNAs actually want to get a check with cash. And the only way that that cash comes into your organization is if your organization is filling up and is plugged into an efficient power plant of getting that money in the door and turning all that revenue that's into accounts receivable into real cash that your treasurer can actually do something with. So we have been implementing new customers for a long time. And we were working with one of our new customers, ML Healthcare, and they've been with us for about 5 months. And we were talking with Monica Alvarado, who is with us today, and she is the director of the patient accounting. And what she was saying was very interesting, and we just felt like we had to share it with the rest of the community. We were excited to hear how much her organization was collecting cash faster. Her bosses were excited about it, and we just wanted to have everybody in the McKnight's community hear it straight from her, because we felt like everybody is short cash today, and the more that your revenue cycle teams have a tool to make their jobs easier, collect cash faster, and make it happen, the better. So we wanted to bring Monica on, the director of patient accounting from ML Healthcare. So you can see her. Maybe Monica, you can say hi to everybody.
Hi everyone. How are y'all? Oh.
Great. Thanks for joining us. I know you have a lot going on, and we tried to book this towards the end of the month, so there wasn't quite so much month-end billing going on. So thanks for taking some time to talk with us. We also have Kimberly Sturm. She's our director of customer experience for primeCLAIMS. So she's responsible for implementations, and she and I work together to listen to customers, share our experiences from our past work with on the provider side to make sure that we're developing features that are really exciting and helpful to the billing community. So Kimberly, thanks for joining us, and we say hi to everybody.
Hello, thank you guys for joining us. It's great to be here today.
All right, so we'll get right into it. One of the things that is really important is to have an integrated platform. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about supercharging your organization around secondary claims. And then we'll talk about ezDDE and how it's just, I know a lot of people are used to the Medicare mainframe system and how primeCLAIMS kind of solves that problem. And then also enrollment, changing over, moving to the primeCLAIMS charging station. I think about the analogy we're using is kind of this idea of a battery, because it goes up and down, up and down. You can imagine an electric vehicle or something. And do you want to plug it into a 120 volt car on the side of the road, and it's going to take 10 hours to charge your vehicle? Or would you rather find the Tesla supercharging station and be on your way in 30 minutes? As your treasurer is writing checks, as I was mentioning, to pay all of your staff, that battery is going down. And what people often don't realize, and in some ways, I always felt like the billing side of the house was almost forgotten. Everybody cared about the clinical side. And but what they don't realize is that their work is powered by the work that the revenue cycle teams do. And so that's why I get pretty passionate about that, because the power plant is all run by the revenue cycle teams. Then we'll also finish up with some of the other things that primeCLAIMS does, just so that we can make sure you know everything that's there. So this is kind of what primeCLAIMS offers. There's primary claims, secondary claims, we have flu roster billing, ezDDE. There's a host of other features, and it's all wrapped up in a great support system that we have. So to get the claims in and out of your system, we work with all the major electronic health records. They can produce an 837, or they have some kind of API interface. We can work with them. And I know I wanted to highlight the one way that Monica's group works with primeCLAIMS. It's a new way as of last year. So the point-click care system that they use is it's the most popular electronic health record in the post-acute industry. And last year they released the point-click care API. And what that allows us to do is to basically pass the 837s and 835s, those are the claim files and the payment files, back and forth. And the primeCLAIMS system was the first organization to get approved and start using the point-click care API. So maybe Kimberly and Monica, why don't you talk for a second about how that helps your organization? And Kimberly, how easy is it or difficult to set it up? And Monica, maybe tell us how it's impacted, how easy it is to post things and get files moved around.
Thank you, Jonathan. So Monica and I worked on the point-click care integration, and I'll let Monica kind of speak for herself. But I think one of the things that drew her was, and it's actually my favorite piece as well, is the 835 piece. That's really powerful, and it keeps the end user from searching at the end of the month for 835s for those remits that come in. So Monica, share with us a little bit about the experience that you've had with yourself at the corporate office and your office managers and your central billing office staff of how the point-click care API is helped as far as transmitting claims and receiving your 835s back.
Yeah, so let me tell you, it is a world of difference when you've got, one less step, two less steps to do. With that API, it's a matter of exporting and giving it a couple of seconds, and you can literally go into primeCLAIMS and the claims are visible for you. You can see them step by step as they go, from exporting to getting sent to the payer, so on and so on. The 835s, that's also a godsend. Some of our BOMs in our CBO department, with the amount of work and just the travel that goes in and out of that office, having one less step, it makes a difference. So having that 835 file just simply show up, go into your, claims and your batches, and you see an 835 file, and just being able to open it up and post it instead of having to go search it through, a portal here, a portal there, and then downloading it to your computer, uploading it or importing it into PCC, and then just it makes a world of difference. Just being able to do those two things for us. So we were definitely excited when we were told that, you guys were going into that with PCC. So, we were excited, and we still are. We really do love or enjoy having primeCLAIMS with us and having them as our clearinghouse.
Yeah, well, I remember how difficult it was to you're trying to balance cash at the end of the month,
right? And
you're off by $107.15, and you're trying to find which remit among this stack of remits didn't get posted. Exactly. And you're just wasting hours at a time, and you're pulling up all these remits, you're trying to find it, and that just kind of goes away with the 835 batch processing.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Not only that, one of the biggest things, we've got a lot of them, but one of the biggest things that our CBO was having issues with was our business office managers receiving, zero remits.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, where there was payments, on these remits, but there was also takebacks. And so, they would just see that it was a zero. They would never pay attention. There was actually claims being paid on that. So they just put it aside, throw it in a binder, throw it in a wherever. And so having the 835 files just automatically download into PCC, we see every single zero remit, whether it is truly a zero remit, or if it was a remit with paid claims and takebacks on it, we're able to address those immediately. But it downloads literally everything. So there's no more excuses for my BOMs when we say, hey, you should have gotten this remit or you should have gotten that remit. And they can say, no, we never got it, or it was a zero EOB. So I just shredded it, or I put it in the shred box, or, whatever the case may be. So here we are, months later, years later, we're finding, trying to locate these zero EOBs where, we've got all these takebacks from. So in that area as well, it's helped us out a lot as well.
Yeah, and it's basically that leads into time wasted when you're trying to research a balance. Why is this balance here? And then you look it up in Medicare is paid, and where does the remit, and just all this wasted time that really you want your team focused on collecting things that haven't been paid, and not just trying to clean up aging because they missed things. So obviously the interface is important because we want it to be intuitive. I know, Monica, you were mentioning you had a couple of people out, either turnover and people come and go, and you don't need a system that's complicated to learn. So maybe talk about what you all like about the system, how easy it is to train, and maybe a little bit of how Kimberly implements it with you guys when you kind of first went live.
So the training really is, the system itself is very self-explanatory. You can maneuver yourself through it. You can figure it out on your own if you needed to. But the training that we received, was enough for us to be able to do what we did. I had already used the system, so for me it was, a little easier. But even with the videos that are being, that are offered in the support, those videos as well. I can have a BOM and I can do training, or my CBO can do a training. But if they have a question, they go straight to the videos. They will, rewatch a video time and time again until they get it. I know I watched, a couple of videos myself just to kind of familiarize myself again with it, because it had been a while since I had worked with it. But the training that we got from primeCLAIMS, the staff, from Kimberly and her staff and her coworkers was awesome. It was really, they were at our, every need. If we needed something, we were able to contact them and say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? Where do we go for this? Where do we go for that? And they were able to show us, and if we were doing something a little harder than what it needed to be, they were showing us how to do it. Like, correcting multiple claims for the same issue. We're used to doing one claim at a time to correct those KXs, those 59 modifiers. Whereas with primeCLAIMS, it was, oh no, don't do that. You don't have to do that. You can do them in a bunch. So we were like, oh, okay, well, we weren't used to that. With our other
capabilities, the quick fixes.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then, so again, working a claim itself, it's very easy. You can, hover over your errors, it says 2, and it takes you straight into, you click on your first error and it's going to take you straight into that segment, to what needs to be fixed, versus giving me a segment number that I have no idea where it's at, and trying to figure it out on my own, and then having to reach out to somebody to help me, what are you talking about? Where is this on this claim? We're not used to the segment numbers. We're used to boxes. We're used to this or that. So, it was very easy to use.
Yeah. And what's nice too, like you can see that we just got right into it. I figured we may as well just go to the first thing that you really use all the time in primeCLAIMS, which is the claim layout when you're working a claim and your errors, and you saw that. And what is good about primeCLAIMS, and I want to just point it out, is that we do a individual claim rejection, not a batch rejection. So if you have 150 claims that you send, whether it's from AHT or point click here or your EMR into primeCLAIMS, we're going to actually pull out the 2 that maybe fail the edits and ship the rest of them. We're not going to fail the whole batch. So, because in the end, the whole point is to not hold up your claims and hold up your cache. we want to get the clash, those claims moving so you get paid faster. And then the 2 or 3 that have issues, we hold back. So it's individual claim rejection, not batch rejection. But as those claims come in, Monica, you mentioned we go through the editing and all of that. Whenever we need edits, maybe Kimberly, you could maybe share what the edit process is and how we help customers with that.
Yes, absolutely. So we work closely with the customers because we want the system to work for them. And oftentimes, payers change. There's a new edit that we need to put in. We try to put all of our edits in at least within 7 days. Sometimes, it's much faster. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer depending on the edit that we have. But we have all of our payer edits that are, of course, payer specific. And we want to make sure that the claim before it goes out of our system is correct. And Monica, you had kind of talked about the errors and how easy it was to make corrections on the errors. We purposely did that because, like you said, Monica, no one knows loop segments and all of the electronic field names. We're claims people, and we know the field locators. We know the UB04, and that's what we're comfortable with. So we wanted to make sure that it was kind of like comfort food. It was comforting to be able to use the system, and it looked and acted just like your UB04. And one of the things I know, Monica, you had mentioned that you had used the system prior. We were really excited because you had used the system with another company. You left the company and got another position at a new company.
Got a promotion.
Yeah, got a promotion. Fantastic. So you were using the clearinghouse that was currently the company currently had, but you guys were experiencing, a little bit of cash flow problems, and it was something that you felt like from a prior customer that we could help you guys with cash flow, which that's the name of the game, like Jonathan said. Every dollar, every day, we want to make sure the cash is coming in. So would you mind sharing with us kind of the issue that you guys were experiencing and how primeCLAIMS helped you solve that problem?
No, not at all. So one of the the biggest problem that we were having was our secondary claims. Secondary claims are they're time consuming. They're not all, you don't have in 1 month, you don't have a $300,000, accounts or payers for those secondary claims. There's 2, 3 here, 2, 3 there. And then they eventually add up. So with our business office managers at the time, they were doing all of the billing themselves. They were doing all the collections, and maintaining the day-to-day stuff in the business office. And so the secondary claims were the claims that they felt that they could just kind of, put to the back burner, deal with it when it got to, 6 months later, when I'm calling them saying, hey, your TRICARE balance is, 100,000, what's going on? And that's a year's worth of work. So having to try to go and, bill all of those out was just very time consuming. However, it's time consuming for them. In their eyes, it was time consuming to wait for the Medicare claim to be paid, make a copy of the RA, make a copy of the UB, put it in an envelope, address it, take it to, and then it got to a point where we were having to send everything certified mail because we were getting, oh, well, we never got it. The claim was not received, so to try to avoid, timely filing, we were sending these things certified mail. So not only were we wasting our BOM's time, the money that we were spending, that she was spending on mailing these things manually, we were also paying $9 per claim per envelope, to get these claims sent out. So at one point in time, exactly, yeah. So one point in time, our CEO was like, what do we need to do? Where is the downfall? What's going on with it? What can we do? How can we fix this? Although the money, it's easy money to collect. We just got to mail it. We just got to bill it. Well, it's easier said than done, when you've got so many steps involved. And our previous clearinghouse didn't have the option that you guys had. And so me reminiscing about my prior employer, I was remembering, hey, wait a minute. They have a product, because introduced another product of y'all's that we use. So when they mentioned that product, I was like, wait a minute, they have a product that does billing. They are also a clearinghouse product. Mm-hmm. So started looking into it, I did my whole spiel to our CEO, COO, hey, you want our secondary claims to get paid sooner and faster and easier and, not have to worry about mailing these and, that cash flow comes in sooner. Let's give them a try, So we kind of held that whole meeting with our CEO, our CEO, our accountant was involved because she pays the bills. So our accountant was involved and she's like, yeah, let's go for it. Let's see what they're all about. So we were able to make that switch. I think it was an easy transition, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was very hard, but once they saw that the secondary money coming in, it was no brainer. They were like, okay, yeah, we definitely made the right choice. And we made it at a good time, at a perfect time, actually, because I think at the time we only had 3 buildings when we made the switch over to you guys, 4 buildings going into opening up our 5th building. So we made it at a good time because now we're up to 7 buildings, using you guys for 7 buildings, and we grew within 5-month period. So I think we got you guys in a perfect time within our company and the growth of our company, to be able to see the difference between where we were at prior to where we are at now. They see that money coming in definitely a lot sooner than they had been seeing it and what they were used to seeing it.
When the bosses start to notice that kind of money coming in, it does make a difference. So yeah, getting paid inside. I put a couple of things you said when we were preparing for this on, and it said you're getting paid inside of 30 days instead of 60 to 90 days, and that makes a huge difference. You mentioned a number, $100,000 was what some of those balances had grown to at some of the buildings. And if you think about what that actually means, I mean, that's probably 2.5 CNAs. That's a nurse and a bit. And that's better patient care. That's fewer falls. That's better outcomes. And that's what really matters is in the end, when your team has an efficient tool to get their job done, they can really empower and charge some really neat operations on the other side. So I'm sure that sometimes it's good to remember exactly why you're sitting there working this UB. Why am I working this claim? I could be doing anything else with my life. What am I actually helping out? And to remember that kind of thing is great. So just to put real things with dollars is I think sometimes really good to remember. Yeah. So then for Medicare, I know the Medicare billing is always fantastic. As on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the beautiful DDE system, straight out of the 1970s.
Absolutely.
It hasn't changed since then. But you had actually mentioned briefly, and I wanted to wrap back around to it and maybe talk a little bit more about the DDE editor. You had said during training, Kimberly was showing you how just how easy it was to edit things, specifically talking about DDE and how adding modifiers, what that's done for your Medicare collection staff as far as time and being able to do more with the resources you had, particularly as your company is growing.
Yeah, so our Medicare billing specialist, loves it. She is able to. We recently went through this whole, thing with our speech therapy, our Part B claims for speech therapy. We were getting denials because of a diagnosis code that wasn't being added onto our claims. And so she was having to go in and, add this diagnosis code. So she was able to go in multiple claims at a time and add that one diagnosis code to a couple of claims or several claims, that had the same error, the same denial reason for it, instead of going in individually and doing that. So now we're working smarter. So during triple check, we make sure that that diagnosis code is there. So we don't have that issue. But at the very beginning, when we first went into the CBO model, our business office managers, again, just the workload that they had, triple check to them for those Part Bs was, let's just, triple check it, let's get it out. And, there's this diagnosis and it looks good and let's bill it. So we were having some issue there with our speech therapies, as well as our KX modifiers. Yes. So, those, when we took on this building in December, we billed for the month of December. And because they didn't have PCC, their caps were not in PCC. We added what we could, and the ones that we didn't have, we couldn't add. So when we billed them, a lot of our claims just recently got rejected because Medicare was like, no, they reached it. They need that KX modifier. So she was actually, for the first month, this month, she was actually able to use that KX modifier area there to do the multiple claims for it. And I think she said she fixed like 15 claims on it that all needed, the KX modifier. So she was like, oh my God, it took me 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes to fix, versus going in there and doing one by one that we're used to doing.
It's literally, if you've got 120 lines to edit or something like that on the claim, I mean, you could be sitting there for hours deleting lines and adding lines, and just to be able to go select all, add modifier, go is a huge thing. And I wanted to go back to, because I thought it'd be great for you to also talk about one of the things that's super important about being able to, during triple check and making sure that people are putting things in the EMR correctly. You had mentioned how important it was for them to put the secondary information in the EHR, so that then everything could kind of get on the claim to produce the secondary. And that was a huge change from your organization. And by doing it, sped everything up.
Yes, it was. So when we first made the transition over to primeCLAIMS, I did get a lot of, hey, this claim didn't go through. There's no secondary there for me to send. And, so at first it was, it's not working. You told me this is how it's going to work, and it's not working. So we kind of had to step back and say, okay, wait a minute. Let's make sure that we're doing what we needed to do. Right. So let's check payer trees. Are the payer trees being set up correctly, prior to us billing? Because if they're not, then defeats the purpose of us making the transition. We did it for that specific reason. So let's check them. And I can tell you about, at that time, we had 4 or 5 buildings that, for every Medicare resident, at least 6 of them were done incorrectly. No insurance was tacked onto it. They had the payer, but, PCC didn't know who to book that payer to, or, didn't tie in a payer ID or anything like that. So it wasn't going to create you a claim for it. Didn't know who to bill. So after we fixed all of that, it was some re-education on our, to our business office managers, some re-education, on our CBO side as well. But once we fixed that, and, we started making sure that that's one of the things that they looked at month end, we haven't had any issues since then.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And it also, in addition to having your secondary claims create properly, your revenue is also booked properly, because if you're not booking your secondary, then the system doesn't know. It's, you have all of these unknowns in point-click care, where they don't know where to bill the co-insurance to. So those are important for your accounts receivable, as well as to make sure you get paid timely.
Yes,
absolutely. We wanted to also talk about how primeCLAIMS provides support. Obviously, our application is a little different than other clearinghouses. The way that we think, the way that we put it together, the way we focus on getting people paid. And when it comes down to support, what's been your experience as far as, and you can't just say it's great because Kimberly's on the phone.
No. I can honestly tell you that the support team for primeCLAIMS is probably one of the best that I've ever dealt with. I can put in a ticket, and within minutes, I have an email or I've got something that says, hey, so-and-so has responded back to you, or you've got a notification of this sort. We, at one point, my business office managers kept coming to me and saying, hey, you know, with our other clearinghouse, this information was showing up on our common working file, you know, the SNF days, the days that they were using at a SNF, and it would give us the NPI number, and it would give us the hospital NPI number and the days that they were in the hospital. You know, primeCLAIMS isn't giving that to us, and, you know, we're having to call them and we're having to do this and it's extra, and they're, you know, whining and about just that specific thing, you know, with primeCLAIMS. And I'm like, well, let me reach out to Kimberly. So I shot her an email. I sent her a screenshot of, hey, our previous clearinghouse used to give us this information. Is this something that you guys could do or offer? You know, do we need to look into maybe upgrading our plan, or, you know, what is it that we need to do? So quickly, you know, she got on, she sent me an email and said, let's get on a call. So we were able to get on a call, we were able to get on a call, and we had Kimberly on the phone. We had the IT person, I think it was the IT person on the phone. We had some other, you know, other people on the phone, and we worked through it. You know, I showed them what it was, you know, gave them the information. As I was talking to them and giving them that information, they were in the background saying, okay, yeah, we can do this. Let's figure it out. I would say within a week to 2 weeks max, we had that information showing up on our common working file. And then our business office managers text me and they're like, oh, it's showing up. And I'm like, yeah, you don't know what it took, but it's okay. You know, we got it done for you. So, I mean, you got, you know, primeCLAIMS is always open to suggestions. How can they make it better for us as a customer? You know, us as a biller, us as, you know, just in general, you know, make our lives easier. And so I never have any issues in emailing Kimberly or her staff, you know, or her coworkers, or her, you know, anybody on that email, you know, saying, hey, I need this, you know, I need that. What's going on with this, or what's going on with that, or, you know, whatever. But the support for primeCLAIMS is probably one of the best that I have worked with.
That's good. Kimberly will put it in your review.
That's right. It's always good to hear.
Well, we've talked a lot about kind of how the system works and operations, and there's a lot of unique features that are post-acute specific. There was earlier in the presentation, there was a slide that showed claim compare and different ways that are up there. But of course, it all starts with enrollment, and this is usually a pretty big sticking point. It is always a pain. It's something that has to get done. There was a law that was enacted called HIPAA, and so, you know, all these different payers are very reluctant to just ship patient payment information to people unless they have paperwork. But of course, we try to help out as much as we can with that, minimize the difficulty in that process. So maybe Monica and Kimberly kind of describe what that process looks like, how it was when you went through it, and kind of what it was like.
Well, for me, it was just a matter of, these are the insurances that I need. You know, you tell me what you need from me, and I got an email back and said, this is what I need from you. Filled out the paperwork and sent it back to primeCLAIMS, and they did their thing, and we, you know, started getting all of our payments and being able to bill and getting our remits and 837 files and, you know, all of that. So for me, it was easy. You know, I had already done it once. It was a little different from what I had done previously, but it was all the same information, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a necessary evil, kind of like what Jonathan had talked about. But I think, especially with Monica, within, you know, some of the payers were approved just within a few days. I don't think it took more than maybe 2 or 3 weeks, you know, tops, to get all of your approvals and have everything flowing through the system. So yeah, it's not as burdensome as I think a lot of people feel like that it is.
And Kimberly, I know there's some customers who come to us who said some clearinghouses took 6 months or more for some of their enrollments to happen. What's typical experience for our customers with the payer enrollments?
Typically, we say 30 days just because some payers can take longer. A lot of times you'll have a payer, that will approve within 2 or 3 days, and then the next time it may take a week or two. So, a lot of times with payers, it's just depending on their backlog, but we've never had any longer than 30 days for approvals to come in. And I think Monica could probably attest as well. That's one of the things that's very important to us. We have weekly enrollment calls. Sometimes we have them twice a week if we feel like, we're kind of under the gun and we need to make sure everything gets done. But we really hit enrollment hard and make sure that there's not any type of delay in processing claims or in getting the payments made.
Yeah, for sure. I know that, at the beginning, when we first made the transition into primeCLAIMS, it took us a little longer only because some of our ID numbers were a little different from primeCLAIMS. So we were having to do a little, digging, going into PCC, changing some stuff. We had one ID for WellMed and, with this clearinghouse, but it was this with primeCLAIMS. So there was some, changes that needed to be done on our end. But once we made those changes, now all the buildings that I've added to primeCLAIMS, we're getting the enrollments done within 30 days, if not a little sooner.
Yeah, great. Well, this is honestly, it's really actually fun to hear your feedback, Monica. I really appreciate it. The development team and the product team works really hard to listen to customers, make stuff that's really makes your lives easier, because in the end, that translates into more money for operations. And as a growing organization, I know we will continue to hear about new facilities you guys are buying. That's how the market is now. And for you all to have a tool that isn't going to require you to add 2 more billers for every building that you hear about coming down the pike, I know is good for you.
Yes.
So I did want to, and I know there's a couple of things that I did want to mention that I think also speaks to how we think at primeCLAIMS a little bit differently. So we also have a flu roster billing that you guys will use next year during flu and kind of mass immunization season. And what's fantastic about it is that we didn't just replicate DDE. If you've ever used roster billing in DDE, you can only put in 9 people and you have to kind of rework it, and you have to look up all your fee schedules and all this kind of stuff. After you've already received a piece of paper from the nurse with all the names of everybody, and maybe it's a napkin. So what we created was when we went and looked at the process, we went all the way back to the nurse and how are they getting their information from the bedside, what drug they delivered to which patient, all the way over to the biller, and then how is the biller putting it in. And when we did that, we figured out, well, why don't we just load all the fee schedules for all the buildings? You set up your building in Medicare, and then every year we update those fee schedules, and then all that stuff is pre-populated for you. And then all the facility has to do is get a spreadsheet that's a template that we give them. They can download it from the site, and they basically put in the 8 pieces of information for a resident or a patient, and they can literally send that spreadsheet over to the biller, who uploads it, pushes validate, and it just happens in Medicare in the background. So even in a CBO world, you could typically have all of your facilities ship their immunizations to one person. They can load all of that information, check it, and be done with the roster billing in probably under 20 or 30 minutes, if as long as everything was clean.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to use that. We have not used it. We have all the information from the facilities now that we didn't know. We knew that they were doing it, but so we are actually ready to do our first roster billing. So after this month, we will be doing our first roster billing for 2022. So I'm excited to see that go through.
Yeah, it's been really well received, and I think it's one of the most popular. If we had done this presentation with somebody else as well, that might have been their favorite feature. So there's so many different ways that people get a lot of value out of primeCLAIMS, and they see things differently. And Monica, we thank you for taking your time to be with us today. Kimberly, thank you for everything you do at primeCLAIMS, and on behalf of our development teams and everybody who's working here and support and making our product really the only post-acute specific clearinghouse out there. Thanks for listening today, hearing about what we're doing, and I know you can sense the excitement between us and customers like Monica, and we really appreciate her taking valuable time out of her day to not only prepare with us before this, but also join us today. So Monica, thank you. Information about primeCLAIMS is on the screen. So if you would like to contact us to learn more about what we're doing and how we can help your organization, we would love to do that. We work with organizations from 1 to 7, 10, like Monica's groups, all the way up to multi-hundred facility chains. The application is designed to scale at whatever size your organization is today, and it's ready to help your organization in the future. So we'd love to hear from you. There's even additional features that I know we'll be showing everybody around AR and matching up your accounts receivable agings with your claim experience to make sure everything gets billed every month. Because I've never met an insurance company that paid you for a claim that you didn't send them. So that's how we can make sure that balances on your aging are for sure all billed and statuses are there. So shoot us an email, and we would love to show you what that is. And on behalf of all of our teams, thanks for your time today. And Foster, if you want to go ahead and close us out.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And thank you all for participating. I've got a few questions here. Now, we are challenged with each payer's enrollment process. Does your system have any special features to help with this?
Yeah, so we have a new enrollment module that we are pushing out, and that helps everybody to know where the ball is for enrollment. So and of course, as Monica was talking about, you know, our support team is always involved in enrollment, responsive, and gets everybody loaded up for their remits to process as quickly as you possibly can.
Awesome. And how long does it take to implement your software? And what is the learning curve for your staff?
Well, Monica, do you want to take that?
So to implement it, I mean, as soon as we said yes, we wanted, you know, to move forward with doing the transition. I think we reached out to Kimberly and the team. I want to say maybe in late March, as early as April, and by May, I already had 2 buildings switched over to primeCLAIMS, and we were already, you know, probably, I think, not 100%, but for the most part, Medicare was being billed through them. Some of our managed cares that, you know, we had already received our enrollment back. So I would say it was probably within 30 days once we made that transition. As I add facilities to primeCLAIMS and to our account, that's literally, you know, I add them, and within 2-3 weeks, primeCLAIMS has already approved us. PCC has already approved us on the marketplace, and we're ready to go and start the enrollment process with our providers.
And now, is your claim system sold as a comprehensive system, or can we just purchase certain features?
Yes, Kimberly, you want to take that?
Yes, absolutely. So we can bundle in all of our features together. But of course, if you are just looking for a claims clearinghouse that transmits the claims, or if you're looking, you know, specifically just for something to use for DDE, like our ezDDE and our CLIP product, we have a lot of a la carte features, including, you know, revenue recovery can be used on its own, as well as, you know, claims and ezDDE. So we can scale to whatever you like. We have customers that use certain modules, and then we have customers that use all of the modules.
All right. That's about all the time we have for today's McKnight's Product Theater. Thank you all for your participation and your candor. For Jonathan Duvall, Monica Alvarado, and Kimberly Sturm, I'm Foster Stubbs. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.